Hi everyone, Massimo here from the Bluroot team, and I am super excited to talk about this today. I've been wanting to record this video for a while, and it's basically Zoho for startups. We have a lot of companies reaching out just saying, hey, I'm 1-2 users, 1-5 users. I just want to get the basics set up. I want customer support, I want some invoicing, I want some CRM, etc. So in this video, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of how to set up Zoho if you're a startup. It's going to be easy. You're not going to need a developer. I'm going to go over tools like CRM for tracking sales, Sales IQ for online leads, web forms to collect the leads, books for some invoicing, Desk for some ticketing, and even bookings for auto calendaring. So all of that, if you use it really well and you follow my instructions, you can get off the ground in hours to start your business and track all of your deals. As always, please join our office hours. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. I love answering those. And I love seeing all of you at the office hours. So please do join. Enjoy the video. All right, let's get started. So step one in your process, this is going to be a Zoho One setup. I would recommend for all startups, it's the best deal on the market. You definitely gotta do Zoho One, and it's typically a non-issue for companies just starting. It's a pay per user, but you have to sign up everyone in your company. You'll land on this page, one.zoho.com, and you'll put in your full name. So I'm just gonna fill this out. Company, I'll put number of employees, put in my email, and my password. Then you have to agree to their terms, and then you can get started. So now what Zoho will do is it'll start creating your account. So I'm going to pause this video until the account creation is done. All right, so now you'll be brought to this page. It says, welcome to Zoho One. They put you in a 30-day free trial automatically, right? And there's no commitment, no contracts. It's really awesome with Zoho. So now they ask some general questions like, what are you going to be using this for? So remember in my other videos you may have watched, Zoho One is a bundle of apps. There's 47 apps in here. Now we're not going to set up all 47. I don't think the average startup needs more than 5. And so I'm going to go over a few of them. So what Zoho does is it bundles a bunch of the apps into kind of categories. So it says, what do you want to set up? So I'll start with sales. I'll also say operations and finances. I'll start with sales actually. So hit continue and continue. So now you'll choose your country. This is important for a lot of reasons, so try to be accurate here. And you'll see this pop up. Once again, I'll pause this till this is done. But what we'll go into next is setting up certain apps that I want to talk about today. So once that's done, you'll see here you have kind of your home dashboard. I'm just going to hit skip on this. What I'll walk you through is a few key features. So you can see in the top right, you have a settings icon. And so what Zoho has done is it has auto-created some applications for you that it assumes you'll need because we've clicked the sales category. So then we hit applications, and you'll see here, there's a bunch it already set up. So I'm gonna go over a few of these today, and I'm gonna start with the CRM. The average startup, I would say, definitely needs the CRM for sales, some basic marketing, and just kind of client tracking. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the CRM. You can add more users to your Zoho One account by hitting users here and hit add. And when you hit add, you can put in their first name, their last name, their email. Once you send out a notification email to invite them, you'll then see a page like this where you can add them to certain apps. So I'm going to start with adding all of the apps that I think we need, and then you can always come back and add users and add them to the apps. So I'm going to go back to applications, and I'm going to hop into the CRM. So you can see I'm already added into it. So now I can go like this, and I can go to crm.zoho.com. And so now it'll bring me into the Zoho One version of Zoho CRM. I'm not going to load sample data. I don't need to, and I'm going to hit get started. So now here's your CRM. And so there's a few things I always recommend people to clean up. So you're going to hit settings in the top right. You're going to hit modules and fields. And for now, I'm going to say get rid of a bunch of things. So I'm going to say to get rid of down here, quotes, sales orders, purchase orders, invoices. I'll show you where to add those in a little bit. There's a different way of doing it. A lot of this I don't see a lot of clients using. I'll keep in visits. Hide def. So that's step one. Get rid of all those different modules to kind of reduce the size of your CRM. I would also say in the automation section, in the process management section under Blueprint, I'll go ahead and delete these. They're kind of a hindrance for the average user. And then I'm going to go to Command Center and actually delete these too. So this is a super quick and dirty way to start cleaning the CRM. Then what you're going to do is hit settings again, hit modules, and you're going to hide the lead module. For the average startup, I don't think you need it. I'll talk about why in a little bit. Get rid of products as well. Okay, so now you've done a basic cleanup of the CRM. I would also encourage you to go into the contacts, accounts, and deals and begin cleaning it up for your needs. So if I go into contacts and hit standard, now I'm inside of the contact module. For most of our implementations, we get rid of a bunch of stuff here. So we get rid of Skype and Twitter and things like that. So what I'm doing here, hitting these three dots and hitting remove field, this allows you to take a field out of the CRM. What it does is it puts it in a recycle bin down here in the unused field, so you can always bring it back later. But in the essence of cleaning it up, I also typically tell people to make a new section here. This just helps you as you're using it, and you'll call this, we typically call this communication links. And then you can bring all of the mobile, phone, other, etc. And so I have a very detailed video on how to clean up your CRM very simply. I'm not going to go through everything today. The video will be right below here in the description, but I'm showing you kind of a quick way here. So I'd recommend moving all of these details down here and then hitting save. Any other field that you don't want, feel free to delete just by doing that. You can also add new fields by dragging them over. So I would say you should do the same thing in the account module. So what you do here, go to the accounts, same thing, standard, move any of the fields you don't need. I typically tell people to get rid of like SIC code, employees, annual revenue. If you're going to customize some of the stages or the industries, you can hit this three dots on anything that says option 1, hit the three dots, hit edit properties. Now you can go in here and add new types of industries. So you can simply do that by hitting the plus here. It'll add an industry, or you can hit minus, it'll get rid of it. You can reorganize them as well. So I'd recommend going through those. We typically keep account type, industry. We also typically bring in an account status. You can see here, I'll bring over a pick list here, account status, and is typically a prospect account, client, or there could be another one, potential client, right? And so this will allow you to start organizing all of your accounts based on if they're a prospect account, a potential client, or a client. Done, save. So like I said, go through, clean that up as much as you can or want. And then the last one we typically customize is deals. So deals, this is kind of, so contacts and accounts, for example, contacts are Massimo, the account is Bluroot. And then a deal is the transaction you have with them or potentially have with them, right? And so this one's super important to add in any relevant details about your business. So if you're a paper user, if you have a certain type of business line and you want to track that, I would encourage you to add pick lists, product A, product B, product C, business line A, B, C. The amount field is typically used for revenue. Closing date is when you think the deal will close. And then stage is also super important to customize. So if I go ahead and hit stage and then hit stage probability mapping, you'll see there's a bunch here that Zoho gives you out of box. Most people don't use these. I would encourage you to get rid of a few of them. Typically we get rid of this one. We keep price quote. Value prop we typically change. Something like this depends on your business, but think of the steps that you're going through with a client trying to get them onboarded. So it might be sent proposal, requested changes to proposal, sent quote, sent invoice, closed deal, or it might be negotiation, closed deal. So I can't give you like the best advice on this, but I would say keep it simple, keep it under 5 so that you have the best outcome. So I hit save. So now I've customized the deal, the contact, the account. You can see we've simplified the system quite a bit, gotten rid of a lot of clutter. I'll just go through a sample of creating one client here. So I'm going to go ahead, create a new account. I'm going to call it Bluroot Enterprises, whatever. And then I'm going to say the account status is a prospect account. I'm going to put in their website. And then I'm also going to create a new contact. So I'm going to say, well, the person that works there is Massimo. And I put in the email. Phone number, and now I'm also going to put in a deal. So when I hit new deal, so what I was doing there on the left hand side, the related list, so now I have an account, I have a contact, now I'm going to create a new deal. I'm going to put the closing date. The stage I'm going to say is needs analysis. I'm going to put an amount of 50,000. Type is new business, and I'm going to hit save. So now what I've done is I've created an account, created a deal, created a contact. This is the process you're going to start going through and moving people through this funnel. So when I go to deals here, you'll see a funnel is being created. So that same process you're going to go through over and over, creating contacts and accounts and deals, moving them through the flow. The next thing I would encourage you to do is to create a web form. A web form is super important. As people write into your website, they can be auto-entered into the CRM. So to do that, you're going to hit settings. It's typically easier just to type web form. You're going to create a new one. You're going to say contacts. As you saw, we got rid of the lead module, so it's going to come in as a contact. Then you're going to put in as much information as you can here. So first name, last name. Typically, I tell people to bring in the lead source here, and you can actually mark it as hidden, and you can default it to something. So you'll say online store, right? Or website, web research. And so what'll happen now, the client won't see this, but when the lead comes in, it'll tell Zoho that it was a web lead. I have a very detailed video on this as well. If you want to get more insight into this, I'm kind of doing a crash course here. The link will be below. You would do first name, last name, lead source. I typically tell people to put description as well. So like what they want from you. And I typically tell people to rename it. So be like, I don't know, question, right? So on the front end, the client will see the word question, but when it comes into your CRM, it'll say description. You'll hit next. Here, you actually have to put where the form is going to live. So bluroot.ca or whatever. Here you have to put a landing page. So it would be bluroot.ca/thank you. So you have to do a bit of work on your WordPress site or whatever site you use, making a landing page and making a thank you page. Then at that point, I would recommend you notify the owner. When a new lead comes in, notify you or your staff that a new lead came in. And I would also recommend that you acknowledge the visitor. So when you acknowledge the visitor, you can just choose a default response, hit select template. You can create one on the fly. I recommend keep it plain text. Hi, first name. Thanks for writing in. I'll reach out to you soon. When you're done this and you hit save, it's going to give you a web form that you can then use to embed on your website. So there's videos on how to do that. I would recommend sending it to your webmaster. It'll give you an iframe or it'll give you HTML. There's a ton of resources on how to embed that on your website, whether it be WordPress or Shopify or whatever. So now what we've done here is we've cleaned up the CRM, we've created a web form, I've shown you how to kind of use the deals, right? That's kind of the basic premise of the CRM that I would encourage you to use. This is going to be your hub. And so what I typically tell people to do lastly is to create a Kanban view in their accounts view. So you would name it, I don't know, something like this. You would categorize it by the account status, aggregate it by that. And then you would bring in the status, you would bring in maybe the website. So now when you hit save, you'll see here's the prospect account that you created. As you create more accounts, they'll go into the prospect, you can move them along, and you can also move their deals along. So now you've created contacts, accounts, deals. CRM is at a point that you can function. I have a ton of other videos of how to utilize the CRM, but at a high level, I would encourage you to write notes. You can write notes in here about the deal. You can also create follow-up tasks. So you can give yourself a task and that'll all go into your task view here. So you'll have all of your tasks listed out what to do with the client. So the next app I encourage everyone to use is Zoho Books. So Zoho Books is an accounting software, very easy to set up. So you can see here, it already knows your account, your name, the address. Don't mess around with this. Like, do put your proper country, put your proper address. Country is the most important because of taxes and all that fun stuff. We're based in Canada, so that's why it knows this. And you can do this part later. So you don't have to register for tax now, but if you do, then it'll ask for your CRA number here in Canada or whatever tax code you're working with. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Takes a second, sets up a Books account. You can follow this, show me around, and it'll show you how to use it, but I'm gonna give you a crash course here. So you can see Zoho has a really nice pop-up here that kind of walks you through what to do. Add your org details and your tax details, so you can hit add tax details. So you say new tax, you're gonna name the tax, put the rate, and put the agency. If I do CRA, for example, you have to create the agency here. So I would go CRA, and then tax rates, I would go new tax, HST, the rate is 13, CRA. So you would go through and add all of your taxes. Then you can go back to the home page and kind of go through all of this. The main things I want to make sure you do here is number one, make sure this is integrated with your CRM. So as you're adding people to the CRM, like I showed you, you want them syncing over here in case you want to send them an invoice, right? So in the settings here, down at the bottom, there's integrations and you can hit connect to the CRM. You hit connect, you choose your organization, there should only be one. And then you'll go through each of these. So contacts, you're going to want to sync accounts and their contacts and include people that don't have an account. So it'll sync Bluroot and Massimo, right? If Massimo doesn't have an account, it'll sync Massimo anyways. So you should have both of those checked. You want a two-way sync. Some people don't. I recommend it. If you add someone into Books, it'll add them into CRM. But I would say your entry point as a best practice should always try to be CRM, right? So always add them in the CRM first. It'll sync into Books. Go here, hit all accounts, and then you're going to map fields. So I would recommend doing this. website, Facebook, all of the stuff typically that they have here is good enough. And so I would hit all of this and then save and sync. So now it's going to start bringing all of your contacts over. And then the other piece that I would say here is you can sync vendors. If you're in a business that has vendors, then you can sync that. It'll pull that from the CRM. And you can sync items as well if you'd like. I would say to start, just sync this. It should be sufficient. Also back in the CRM, if you hit settings and then Zoho and then manage, you should also hit edit on this, enable this. So once the contact and the account synchronization is done, you're also going to need to do this and also this. So what you're going to do is you're going to unhide those modules. So you're going to unhide vendor and you're going to unhide item or products, they call it. Okay. And then you're going to go back to settings, go back to Zoho, go back to manage, sync. This, I would say all. And you don't even necessarily have to have vendors. This is just kind of a quirk of the integration. And then products, same thing. I'm going to sync. And so now at this point, once everything's done syncing, I would recommend that you come back here. Save. Oh, sorry. There's one more piece here. What would you like to do with the CRM? I would recommend hiding these. So basically, what's going to happen is Zoho is going to second here, the base currency. So if you get that warning, what that basically means here is in general, company details, you'll see the currency here is USD. So I have to change this to CAD, Canadian. So if you see that, basically your currency is different in the CRM than it is in books. And so you're going to want to change that. So I hit Zoho here under marketplace, and then I'm going to go to manage. I'm going to save. Yes. So what has now happened, you've set up the sync completely and you'll start seeing all invoices and estimates, etc. on every deal. So if I open up a deal here, you'll see shortly on the left-hand side, there will be a finance tab, and that finance tab, you can actually see all of the invoices from books. Now, basically you've set up books, you've set up the integration back to the CRM. There's one other thing I'll mention. You can actually hit settings here, change all kinds of preferences. So you can go in preferences, you can kind of say what modules you want, what invoices you want, or what customizations on the invoice. What I often tell people to do is to go to templates here and take a look at the invoice template so you can preview it here. So this is what it looks like out of box, but you can customize this quite a bit, right? And so you can actually hit edit. You can change the name of it, the margins, the header, put your logo in it so it goes at the top. You can change the footer, the item table, you can change the font, layout of it. So there's a lot of customizations you can do. If you don't really care how the invoice looks, honestly, this one looks very professional out of the box. I would recommend putting your logo, but beyond that, it's sufficient. There's also some reminders here that you can turn on. If people aren't paying their invoices, you can actually click on this reminder. It'll show you what it sends to your customer. This is to remind you of X, and it will be X amount of days after the due date. So you can change that. You can say, oh, this one's 2 days, the next one's 10 days, the next one's 40 days. So I'd recommend turning that on too. It just puts your receivables on autopilot. It makes you look more professional. This isn't a full Zoho Books tutorial, but in your reports tab here, this is how you're going to see all of your profit and loss and cash flow statement. I'm going to have other videos on that, but this is where everything lives. So all of your invoicing can be done from here now. If I reload this page here, when you see that little pop-up in the bottom right, that's a good thing. You'll see the Zoho Finance tab now. And so on every deal you have, let's say you want to write an invoice to a client, you have this deal for $50,000, you can hit new invoice, and it's actually going to let you make an invoice inside of Zoho Books, but from within the CRM. This is an awesome, awesome feature. Not a lot of CRMs have this, and now you're set up to send invoices to clients. The next app I want to show you, so now you've got your sales, you've got your online web form, you've got your invoicing so you can invoice people. The next thing I want to show you is bookings. Let's just go to Zoho 1 and make sure that application is there. So it isn't. So I'm going to hit add application. I'm going to search for bookings, and I'm going to add the account here. It's creating an account. Okay, so now I'm going to go into bookings. Go in another tab. I'm going to go to bookings.zoho.com. And there's a few things you should set up here. So what bookings is like Calendly or other apps like that. So it's a calendaring software. You can obviously take the quick tour. I skipped that. A couple things you're going to want to do. Number one, you're going to hit settings. You're going to go down to calendars, and you're going to choose which calendar you have. Probably a lot of you are Gmail. If you hit Gmail and you hit enable, it's going to pop up and make you sign into your Gmail, and then it's going to make you choose which calendar to sync with. Once you do that, all of your calendar entries in Gmail will show up in here. So that's step one. Step two is to make some customization on what are called workspaces and services. So a workspace is a grouping of services. You can think of workspace as a place where branding and everything that aligns with that lives. So basic information about your company, consultations, which are the meetings you can have. So you can quickly add some new ones here. You could say, well, this is a quick call. It's 30 minutes. It's free. I don't need a buffer time, and I'm allowed to take it. So now what you've done is added a consultation to the workspace. You can add more of them, right? So if you go back to the workspace, you go to consultations, you can add more. So you can have a 1-hour call, 15-minute call, etc. Notifications, I'd recommend going through and turning on. So if something's booked, do you want an email? Yes. Rescheduled, do you want an email? Yes. For the customer, do they want an email? And you can customize them. So it'll say, hi there, you can put your own branding and all that stuff. Hi there, Massimo, you've scheduled an appointment with X, right? So I'd recommend going through this, customizing these to your liking. For the consultant, I'd recommend having these on, at least for the booked, rescheduled, and canceled. And I mean, it's internal. Most people don't customize what the templates look like, but you can if you want. Once you check this box, it'll allow you to customize it. And then the last piece that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the booking page themes. So there's a bunch of themes. Probably the most common or popular one these days is the new layout. You can change the colors of it and you can preview it here. So this is what it'll look like when your customer lands here. So you're going to see, okay, quick call, and then they're going to have times they can choose and days. And then when they choose a time, it's going to ask for their info. So you can play around with this, change the color, change the title, change what it says here. I'd recommend going through that. Second last piece I want to talk about with this is inside of bookings, there is also a consultant tab. And so I'd recommend customizing your working hours. Maybe certain days you don't want to take meetings at all. And so I would go through this, hit edit, and change that. And yeah, that's the basic gist of bookings. The last piece you should definitely do is I would recommend also integrating with the CRM calendar. What that'll do is it'll actually bring all of the meetings into your CRM so you can see them there. Really handy feature. I would definitely recommend it. Oh, and the last piece I almost forgot. You would then use this URL that you could send to clients or put in your email signature or whatever, where they can now go to it and actually choose what service they want to meet with you, 30-minute, 1 hour, whatever. If you have a bunch of people in your company and you want to send out just their links, each of the consultants you set up, you can actually take, so this is just Massimo's link. So if you give this out or put this in your signature, it's just going to allow you to book with Massimo. Yeah, that's Zoho Bookings. Then probably the last piece or the last app I wanted to show was Zoho Sign. Let's just check if that's in Zoho 1. So if it isn't, we're going to add it. Zoho Sign is like DocuSign, so you're probably going to be signing a lot of contracts, sending a lot of stuff back and forth. Zoho Sign, if I go ahead and hit sign.zoho.com, it's a very easy app to use and set up. You can see it right in your face. There's two options: send for signatures or sign yourself. A couple things in the settings here, notification settings, you might want to tweak these. You might not want to get pinged when someone signs it. You probably do, but a lot of people turn off the viewed, but you can turn that on. So if someone looked at your document, you can get an email. There's also some organizational details. I'd recommend filling this all out. There's also some account settings. These are default for any contract you send. So you may say, okay, any contract I send, I want to give 15 days for someone to finish it, and if they don't, it expires. And maybe you say for any contract I send, I want to remind someone every 5 days. So I'd recommend going through this and coming up with something here. In the recipient experience, you can see here what they're allowed to do. So you can go through this. Most people keep this as default, but essentially now this is set up. So you can go ahead, if you wanted to send a contract, you would hit send for signature. You would upload something from your desktop, right? And then once you choose that, you're going to go ahead, and it's just like DocuSign. You can drag the signatures on, and we have detailed videos on our YouTube for this. Now what you've done is you've set up CRM, basic cleanup, basic setup. You've also set up Zoho Sign to send out contracts. You've also sent out Zoho Books to send out invoices. And you've sent out Zoho Bookings to collect meetings. So if you've done this, you're really set up to run your business very easily. The last piece I wanted to show, I'm going to go back to the CRM. There are a few other settings that if you have time and you want to, you should definitely set up. So in the settings back here, under personal settings, I'd encourage you to go through this. You can use this pencil, change your proper country, change your date format, change how you want to see names. These are like aesthetic things. But more importantly, what you're going to want to do is under channels and then email, I'd recommend first off putting your signature in the CRM so you can send emails from the CRM and it looks like it's sent from you, which it did. And then email here under get started, I'd recommend setting this up. Most of you are going to be on Gmail or Outlook or Office 365. When you hit this, I would say choose IMAP for all of them. And then it's going to pop up like this and ask you to sign in. And so once you sign in, now any email you send from your Gmail, as you add someone into the CRM, all those emails are synced. It's a great tool if you're off for the day or whatever, and it's just a good practice with a CRM. So that was a lot to digest. There are more apps that a startup can use, but these are the most common ones. CRM for sales, then Zoho Sign for documents, Zoho Books for invoicing, and Zoho Bookings to collect meetings. If you set up all of those, you're in a really good spot. Please like, comment, subscribe, join my office hours if you're confused or have questions. I'm probably going to make more videos like this, so I'd love to hear your feedback. Have a good one.